Welcome back to The Explainer. You are tuning in to the Foundry by Forge College. I'm absolutely thrilled to guide you through today's topic, because honestly, we're finally bridging the gap between theory and reality. In our previous lesson, we went deep into designing feedback loops for continuous improvement, right? We learned the sheer mechanics of tying monitoring signals to actions. But today we move from the design phase to the hard evidence. We're looking at Solana case studies of successful integration. We are going to examine real-world deployments to see exactly how those feedback loops and monitoring alignments were implemented, adapted, and iterated in practice. So grab your notebooks, because we're taking abstract deployment concepts and translating them into highly actionable checklists. Here's our set list for today's explainer. We'll start with the Iterative Orchestra. Then Case A, fast NFT minting. After that, Case B, DeFi order routing. We'll follow that up by comparing strategies and wrap up with your next steps. All right, part 1, the Iterative Orchestra. Let's talk about synchronizing your deployment. Okay, let's really dive into this. Before we look at specific telemetry, we need a solid mental model. I want you to think of a Solana deployment not as just flipping a single giant switch, but rather as an orchestra rehearsal. What's fascinating is how beautifully these musical roles actually map to engineering terms. The string section, that represents your baseline unit tests and static analysis, making sure every individual module plays the exact right notes. The percussion section is your load testing, setting the baseline tempo of your protocol. The conductor's cues are your alert thresholds, and the rehearsal notes are your post-deploy retrospectives and incident tickets. Think about it. If you skip percussion practice, your mainnet deployment might act like a drummer who just drank way too much coffee, rushing the tempo, missing beats, and ultimately crashing the whole system. Continuing with our orchestra metaphor, we really have to decide how we want to rehearse. And, well, this comes down to your project's release velocity and your overall risk tolerance. On one hand, we have small-scale rehearsals. These are your frequent canary deployments to a small, isolated validator set. They act as quick, highly effective feedback loops, revealing timing issues early and cheaply. On the other end of the spectrum, we have full-dress rehearsals. These are your massive, mainnet-like stress tests. Sure, they reveal those deep integration and capacity problems, but they cost significantly more time and resources. Choosing between these two is a strategic decision you're going to have to make for every single release. Moving right along to part 2, Case A. Let's look at fast NFT minting and a high throughput focus. Let's move from that quiet concert hall to a much louder venue. Our first real-world case study is a high-throughput NFT minting platform. Think of them as a high-energy punk rock band. Their absolute highest priorities were rapid user onboarding and predictable mint throughput. To handle massive, sudden spikes in traffic without the user experience just completely falling apart, they implemented a beautifully staged deployment framework. Step 1, unit tests and static analysis to catch the obvious bugs. Step 2, local validator smoke tests. Step 3, a small capacity canary deployment on testnet to observe live behavior. And finally, Step 4, controlled mainnet mint windows. This was a super fast automated release pipeline, ensuring that when the massive traffic hit, the system was ready to absorb the shock. So how did this punk rock team actually manage all that chaos? Well, they heavily monitored confirmation latency and mempool churn. If transactions started slowing down, their system didn't just sit there waiting for a human to wake up and read a Slack message. No way. They used automated mint throttling. The system automatically reduced the size of the mint window to protect the user experience and block network congestion in near real time. It mitigated the harm instantly and then, brilliantly, automatically generated a post-mint incident ticket for the performance team to review later on. Part 3, Case B. Let's shift gears to DeFi order routing, where the focus is all about price integrity. Now let's look at a completely different kind of ensemble, a permissionless DeFi order routing integration. If Case A was our energetic punk band, Case B is a meticulous, highly precise classical string quartet. In DeFi, composability and price integrity across multiple on-chain venues are everything. I mean, here, a single wrong note in economic correctness means permanently lost funds. So naturally, their strategy is fundamentally different. Their monitoring tracked slippage rates, Oracle age, and transaction front-running. But get this, they implemented zero automatic mitigation. None at all. Instead, they treated small anomalies as research tasks, favoring human-led investigation and governance decisions. They wanted to manually decide whether to keep it, patch it, or roll it back. They completely avoided immediate automated fixes to prevent the absolute cold sweat of an automated mainnet financial error. So the crucial point here is summarized perfectly by this fundamental question. What do you automate versus what do you humanize? This right here is the core trade-off between speed and correctness in Web3 deployments. Case A used automation to prevent immediate UX degradation, while Case B entirely paused automation to ensure perfect economic correctness through human investigation. Which brings us to part 4, comparing strategies. The classic battle of speed versus correctness. Let's put these two approaches head-to-head and really weigh the trade-offs between the automated speed of our NFT platform and the forensic precision of our DeFi protocol. Look at the primary risks. Case A is fighting throughput spikes and congestion, whereas Case B is fighting threats to price integrity. For telemetry, Case A watches latency and mempool depth, while Case B is laser-focused on slippage rates and oracle age. But the ultimate divergence, the really interesting part, is in the action taken. Case A relies on automated mint throttling to just output an incident ticket. Case B has zero automated action. Their entire goal is to isolate and replay, producing a reproducible test case paired with a governance note. It is a perfect illustration of tailoring your deployment framework to your very specific threat model. And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates our core takeaway for this entire explainer. Reproducibility is a multiplier of learning. Whether you are prioritizing blazing speed or strict economic correctness, capturing exact state snapshots, captured logs, and transaction replays turns a messy, stressful incident into a highly teachable, incredibly fixable moment. It allows your engineering team to iterate against deterministic reproductions rather than pulling their hair out trying to guess what happened from noisy production traces. To summarize the decision matrix for your own projects, let's use this simple rule of thumb. On one side, we have automate. You should build automated mitigations for events that are frequent and relatively low risk to protect the user experience at scale. On the other side, we have human review. You absolutely must rely on human governance and manual review for events that are rare but have a high-impact, economically sensitive outcome. Simply put, don't spend months building risky automation for a rare DeFi edge case when a basic circuit breaker and a human review will do the job much, much more safely. Finally, part 5, your next steps. Let's look at our pedagogical checklist. Understanding these case studies theoretically is great, but now it's time to translate these abstract trade-offs into an actionable set list. Here is your pedagogical homework for whatever project you're currently building. First, define your top 3 failure modes. For each one, estimate the expected frequency and the potential impact. Based on that estimation, explicitly choose whether you will automate the mitigation or require human review. And finally, specify exactly what reproducible artifact you will capture if that failure occurs. Will it be a transaction replay, an exact state snapshot? Figure it out and write it down. You are definitely going to need those artifacts because next step in this track is the capstone kickoff, framework for comprehensive planning. That one-page list of failure modes and the monitoring rules you draft right now, those will be mapped directly into the comprehensive planning exercise in our next module. And as we've seen time and time again in other Forge College courses, treating this pre-work seriously is exactly what separates a chaotic, stressful launch from a seamless professional deployment. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought. Is your next deployment a carefully rehearsed performance, or are you just winging it on opening night? Take the lessons from the punk rockers and the string quartets we discussed today. Rehearse, monitor, and automate wisely. That wraps up our explainer for today. To dive deeper into these deployment frameworks, master this material, and explore a wealth of other amazing Web3 topics, I highly encourage you to visit forge.college. Keep iterating, keep building, and I will see you in the next one.